evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to CK Bone Ministries. I am Carla K. Bone. I am broadcasting live to you on tonight. And listen, we are studying Mama Joyce Meyer's book, Battlefield of the Mind. Yes, this is a fantastic read. You have got to pick up the book. Listen, we are on chapter 17 and we've been studying this book for some time. And listen, it is a phenomenal read. It will change your life. It will. I made it so simple for you that you can order this book. You can go directly to my website at www.ckboneministries.org. Click on the icon, order my book. It takes you directly to Mama Joyce Meyer's e-commerce bookstore, and you can order it right there online, and they will drop ship it directly to your home. Listen, we've been into this read, especially during the first quarter of this year, and listen, it has phenomenally changed so many people's lives, and listen, it has certainly challenged me and changed my life as well. But I want to get directly into the read on tonight because it is fantastic. We're talking about Battlefield of the Mind, and one of these areas is called the wilderness mentality. And we talked about the wilderness mentality on last week. But this week we're talking about another area of the wilderness mentality. This week we're talking about someone do it for me. I don't want to take responsibility. That's an area of the mentality that we can have, what's called the wilderness mentality, meaning that I know it's some things I need to do, but I will prefer somebody else to do it for me. I don't want to do it myself. And listen, we are going to explore that. On tonight, we are going to take it. Remember, that's the way you partner with me. You can help me by sharing that because somebody in your friend network or your social media platform needs to hear this word on tonight about somebody do it for me. I don't want to do it and take responsibility and do it myself. Maybe somebody's been calling you, asking you to do stuff for them because they don't want to do it and take responsibility for their own lives. Maybe this is a perfect opportunity for you to hit that share button. Send it to them on Messenger and just say, hey, Carla is broadcasting live again, and this time she's talking about Battlefield of the Mind and their wilderness mentality, taking responsibility for our lives. And listen, this will be a phenomenal way that you can partner with me and at the same time help your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers, and so forth. Okay, she says, and we're taking it from the scripture in Genesis, the 11th chapter and the 31st verse. It says, and Terah took Abram, his son, Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forward together to go from Ur of the Chaldees into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Listen, when I was doing a little bit of research, I did a little research on Terah, and Terah was actually the father of Abraham. And what was interesting is when I researched his name means wanderer. He was supposed to go to, Canaan, but he stopped in Haran. And when I did a little bit more research, I found out he's the son of Nahor. But we're going to talk a little bit deeper about this assignment, that he had to go to Canaan, and he stopped in Haran. And we're going to talk about that because remember, we're talking about someone do it for me. I don't want to take responsibility. Responsibility, Mama Joyce said, is often defined as our response to God's ability. I'm going to repeat that. Responsibility is defined as our response to God's ability. To be responsible is to respond to the opportunities that God placed in front of us. To be responsible is to respond to the opportunities that God placed in front of us. I don't know who I'm speaking to on tonight, but if you've been ignoring opportunities that God placed before you, you might want to start being responsible and respond to those opportunities that God placed before you. God gave Abram's father a responsibility, a chance to respond to his ability. He placed before him the opportunity to go to Canaan. But instead of going all the way with the Lord, he chose to stop and settle in Haran. How many of us have God gave us the opportunity to go into a place and we stopped and didn't go all the way? I remember distinctly when, the Lord moved my family from Chicago and we went to California. We thinking that that's the spot, where God wanted us. And then we get to California and the Lord, is responding saying, hey, I want you guys to keep going. I need you to go to Texas and I need you to settle there. Well, what if we would have did like, Tara and stopped and stayed in California? Then we would miss the opportunity of being responsible and going all the way with God. I don't know who I'm speaking to on tonight, but have you went all the way with God? Or are you willing to go all the way with God, even if you don't understand? Because at the time when the Lord was moving us from California, I didn't understand. I said, Lord, we went all the way from Chicago, all the way to California, almost 1,800 miles. I said, and then now we trying to get settled, and you're telling us that we got to go again. We got to move again. And I remember saying something to the Lord, like, Lord, I'm all moved out. And the Lord was just shaking his head saying, honey, you was only stopping by certain points until I got you to where I needed you. And so we have to be available and responsible to go all the way with the Lord. So she says, it is fairly easy to be excited when God first speaks to us and give us an opportunity to do something. And that's so true. You're so excited when God speaks and give you opportunity to do something. We get excited at those things. But like Tara, many times we never finish what we start because we get into it and realize there is more involved than goosebumps and excitement. How many of you are like that? You get involved, you go a little distance with the Lord, and then when you realize that it's more than goosebumps and excitement, and there's some work to be done, then we kind of back off and we just stay, like Tara did in Haran. God is saying it's time for us to go all the way to Canaan. Listen, she says, most new ventures are exciting simply because they are new. Excitement will carry a person along for a while, but it will not take him across the finish line. Excitement. I remember when my husband first planted the ministry back in Chicago, I wasn't excited initially, but then after I got involved and I started getting excited, it wears off. After the excitement wears off, then now you got to have something a little bit more deeper than just excitement and zeal. You got to have something that's driving you to do what it is that you are doing. She said, it won't take you across the finish line. You're going to have a little bit more than just excitement. Many believers do what the Bible says Tara did. They start out from one place and settle somewhere else along the way. Have you started out in one place and somehow you just settle somewhere else along the way? She says they get tired or weary. They would like to finish their course, but they really don't want all the responsibility that go with it. If someone else would do it for them, they would love to reap the benefits, but it just does not work that way. In other words, we can't expect someone else to do the work for us and then we reap the benefits from it. It doesn't work that way. We have to go all the way with the Lord. Personal responsibility can't be delegated. The next day, Moses said to the people, you have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sins. So Moses returned to the Lord and said, oh, these people they have sinned a great sin and have made themselves gods of gold. And now, if you will forgive their sins, and if not, blot me, I pray you, out of your book for which you have written. That's Exodus 32nd chapter, 30 through 32nd verse. She said, in reading this study, she noticed that the Israelites did not want to take responsibility for anything. Moses did their praying, He saw God for them. He even did their repenting when they got themselves in trouble. And that's in Exodus 32, 1 and 14. She says, and using it as an example, a baby has no responsibility at all. But as a child grows up, he is expected to take more and more responsibility. One of the main roles of a parent is to teach their children to accept responsibility. God desires to teach his children the same thing. You know, oftentimes, and I've been in ministry now over 20 years, and I would oftentimes have married couple counseling, and I would talk to one of the spouse. And oftentimes when I talk to the man, he does the same thing that Adam did in the beginning of time. As soon as I ask a question, the man say, well, that's what she said. That's what she did. That it was her. I would have never even did that if it wasn't for her. She didn't tell me I should have did it this way. And she didn't. We often like to shift responsibility away from ourselves and put it on somebody else. Man been doing it since the beginning of time in the book of Adam. He been doing it in the book of Genesis, beginning of time. Adam did it with Eve. It's that woman you gave me that had me to eat from the tree, the apple, the forbidden fruit. It was that woman. Listen, I say all the time, God, even though we may be in a covenant marriage, but God gave us all a brain, an individuality that makes us different. And we all have a mind where we can think for ourselves. We can process for ourselves, right? But then after we process, this is where we come together. But we have to assume responsibility for our part, for our role, for our thoughts, for our mindset. We have to assume responsibility. We're in a culture and a society where people is just shifting responsibility on everybody else except themselves. It's the government. It's the war. It's the this. It's the that. It just responsibility just being wavered around all over the place because we have became accustomed to, if things don't go right, let me find somebody else to hold responsible for it instead of myself. We have got to start learning as a society and a people that we have to take responsibility. Not when everything is just going right, but even when things are going wrong. Take full responsibility for it. Listen, she said, Moses, he started out what the old people would call coddling. He's repenting for the children of Israel. He's crying out to God for them. He's atoning for their sins. He's doing everything for them. And the children of Israel, they never took responsibility and did anything for themselves. And so, can you imagine with those generations of the children of Israel, what they did? They passed the buck. Because if they weren't held accountable, then they would hold their children accountable. You can only do what you know. So listen, she said, at some point, even as a baby, a parent is to teach their children to accept responsibility. God desired to teach his children the same thing, taking responsibility. Listen, she said, later they discovered that they have worked at the same time in another place. And this is so interesting. She said, there were so many people who came to her ministry. This is Mama Joyce Meyer. She said, thinking that it's the greatest thing that could ever happen to them to be a part of a Christian ministry. Later, they discovered that they have to work. They're the same as they work any other place. They have to get up. They have to be there on time. They have to come under authority. They have to follow a daily routine, etc. When people say they want to come work for us, we tell them that we do not float around on a cloud all day singing the Hallelujah chorus. We work and we work hard. We walk in integrity and do what we do with excellence. People think all the time that ministry is this easy peasy work that we are able to do, where we just integrate into people's lives. We give them counsel and direct them on what we think they ought to be doing. And that's the essence of our work. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. The essence of our work is a lot of work. It takes a lot of work just to manage you, let alone having the responsibility of helping, assisting, leading someone else. Ministry is not easy. When I read this part in her book, I laughed because some people think that we sit around on clouds and sing and play the harp and play the piano all day and do absolutely nothing. When in actuality, our job never ends. When you work for corporate America, you have a start time and you have a finish time. And most of you cannot be found at finish time. If your finish time is at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, let somebody call you from the job at 7 o'clock. You ain't even going to answer the phone. But when you are in ministry, it's different. You are on the clock all the time. I couldn't tell you the amount of times when I've had to get up out of my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning to meet somebody at the police station. Or when I had to get up out of my bed and be somewhere and be at the church at 6 o'clock in the morning because someone was having a really rough time and they didn't know if they was going to make it through the night, and asked me if I can come and just pray with them and stand in agreement with them, and if can they just come into the church so they could just lay on the altar and ask God, to do some things in their life. You can't imagine how many phone calls we've taken in the midnight hours of someone being hospitalized in a car accident or death in the family. You cannot imagine when the clock goes off, we go off with it. Ministry work is not easy work. It's hard work. And when we can find times of break, we take it because it's certainly needed, because we're working all the time. I'm sitting here before you even on tonight, and I'm broadcasting. When I'm done broadcasting, this has to be put together. It has to be formulated. It has to be uploaded. It's more work that has to go to it. It goes up to our YouTube. It goes out to our app. It has to be polished. There's work beyond what you see. I heard someone say a very long time ago, it was a young man, and I figured he didn't know any better, but, he thinks that, and that's another whole debate about, working in ministry. They think we're supposed to work in ministry for free. If you get any kind of support from a ministry for the work that you do, then they feel it's something wrong with that. They go to work every day, 9 to 5, and they think that that's fine. I did a day's work for a day's pay. But what happens when you work in ministry and you working for God and you sitting here and I'm broadcasting and I'm sitting here for 2 hours, and then there's another hour of work that has to be done behind this, and then I'm back up again and I'm making certain that I'm doing all the necessary things and updating the website and reading material, doing the work and preparing for another hour and reading the material. That's work. That's work. That's work. But I actually had someone to tell me that they didn't feel that was actual work, that should be free. And I wanted to ask them so bad, would you work for free? And when a loved one passed away and we have to go and work, we have to provide, we have to do for the eulogy, we have to put the committal in the ground, we have to do the baptism, that's all work. But it's not viewed that way. And when we don't get off the clock, there's no clock for us. We just set margins of time. That's the only thing that we can do. But when you call to that level of ministry, I realize that I can't sit here and explain to every person the dynamics and what goes behind the actual work that we do. Because if I did that, then I would never get anything accomplished. So I didn't even address the young man when he said what he said. But I just realized that there's a lot of people who go through life and don't understand the responsibility that comes with ministry, especially if you're doing it correctly. It's a lot of responsibility. And we cannot delegate it or push the buck. We have to assume responsibility that God has given us. Remember, to be responsible means to be responsible with God's ability. It's when we respond to God's ability. She says, they don't understand that when the goosebumps and the excitement have subsided, that we will find an expecting high level of responsibility from them. That's working in ministry. Working in ministry is not easy. However, it's rewarding. I can go to bed at night and smell the roses of the high heavens knowing that I did something good today. I made a difference today. I prayed with some people today. I created some material that's going over social media that just may reach somebody who actually needs to hear it. Somebody who was hopeless, who's on the edge of their seat, who just don't know where to turn and where to go, that come across my videos and come across my website, who will be blessed by it. It's rewarding. Okay? She says, in Proverbs 6 chapter the 6th and the 11th verse, it says, go to the ant, you sluggard, consider your ways and be wise, which having no chief overseer or ruler, provides her food for the summer and gather her supplies in the harvest. How long will you sleep, O sluggard? When will you arise out of your sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to lie down and sleep. So will your poverty come like a robber, or one who travels with slowly but approaching steps, and you want like an armed man making you helpless. She says, this lazy mindset that the Israelites had was one of the things that kept them in the wilderness 40 years making an 11-day trip. They had a lazy mindset. They had an 11-day trip to get from the wilderness to Canaan land, but it took them 40 years to get there. And the reason why is because they had a lazy mindset. They wanted Moses and Joshua, anybody else. They wanted everybody else to do it for them. Okay? She said, people who must always have someone else pushing them will never really do anything great. Are you the type of person that needs somebody to push you all the time for you to get up and do anything? She said, if you are, you will never do anything great. Those who only do what is right when someone is looking won't get very far either. If you only do what's right when somebody else is looking, or you weighing the cost of whether or not you're going to get caught, you ain't going to do too much either, she says. We must be motivated from within and not from without. We must live our lives before God, knowing that He sees all and that our reward will come from Him if we persist in doing what He asks us to do. Listen, your motivation has to come from within, not without. People ask me all the time, what motivates me to do what I'm doing? What motivates me to do what I'm doing is every time I turn on the news and I see someone else, a victim or a survivor of domestic violence, or someone else that is going through a really, really hard time in their life, I think about the ministry that I'm called to help, empower, and encourage women around the world to live a John 10:10 life, a fruitful one, an abundant life. That is my encouragement and my power and my motivation from within. I used to get angry and be like, oh Lord, see, I need this ministry to get going because what if I could have crossed paths with that person before this happened? What if I could, I used to go down that rabbit trail, but then I just said, okay, Lord, our ministry is on track to do what it's called to do. And I have all faith and confidence in you that together we gonna get it done. We have to be motivated from the inside and not the out. She says, many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew, the 20th chapter and the 16th verse. For many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called or given an opportunity to do something for the Lord, but very few are willing to take the responsibility to answer the call. Many of us are called, but very few is willing to take the responsibility to answer the call. You know, I made some strategic covenants and promises to the Father. One of them was when I came into fellowship with him, I promised him that I would never leave that fellowship with him. Meaning that I would never go wherever in my life and forget about him and don't have this one-on-one relationship with him while I talk to him and he talked to me. I would never leave this fellowship. That was one of the covenants that I made with him. But another covenant that I made with him is that I won't give up. I won't give up. I'll keep pushing and I'll keep moving and I'll keep working and I'll keep going and I'll keep, even when I don't see no progress and I get tired and I just want to put my head down and just say, Lord, I say, Lord, encourage me. I promise him that I won't give up. I keep on pushing and I keep on going and I keep on helping. I keep on assisting. I keep on working. I keep on toiling. My motivation is within. I have to finish this race that God has given me and this journey. So when it's all over, my appetite would say she did what God called her to do. And then she left. That's my biggest desire. That when I finally see his face, I can say, I did it. Lord, I did it. You may be like me. You may feel like there's a lot of things in your life that you never completed. You know, oh, I wish I would have completed and went in and got my degree. I wish I could have got my law degree. I wish I could have got it. You probably going through your life wishing all these things, right? But the one thing that matters and means a lot, that's going to count at the end, is when you can say, Lord, I did it. I did what you called me to do. I did it. I did what you called me to do. And I gave it the best that I got. That should be our desire. You know, I have a book that's coming out soon. And I smiled because I wrote it back in 2000. And I said, Lord, I did it. I got it done. Okay, it's 22 years, but I got it done. And then now I'm on to now with the ministry and what he's calling me to do is getting it done. Giving it what I got. Okay? She says, take responsibility for the call. As I mentioned in the previous chapter, a lot of people have wishbones but no backbones, she says. Ouch. She says, people with a wilderness mentality want to have everything and do nothing. She says, get up and go. Joshua, the first chapter, the first through the third verse says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, Moses, my servant, is dead. So now arise, take his place, go over the Jordan, you and all this people, into the land which I am giving to them, the Israelites. Eat every place upon which the sole of your feet shall tread, that have I given you, and have promised Moses. When God told Joshua, she says, that Moses was dead and he was to take the place and lead the people across the Jordan into the promised land, it meant for a lot of new responsibility for Joshua. Imagine, he had been Moses' protege all this time, and now God is calling him and saying, okay, now you're the one that's going to have to take them over. That's a lot of responsibility for Joshua. The same is true for us as we go forth to claim our spiritual inheritance. You and I would never have the privilege of being used by God if we are not willing to take our responsibilities seriously. We got to take it seriously. She says, it's a favorable time. And she talks about how in 1993, God showed Dave and her that he wanted them to go on television. And she says, I am giving you an opportunity to go on television. This is what God told them. But if you don't take the opportunity now, it will never pass by you again. And she says, perhaps if God had not let us know that we needed to respond immediately, we may have procrastinated. After all, We were finally in a position where we could be comfortable. If we procrastinate long enough, sometimes God has to find someone else who will respond to his call right away. Remember, the journey never began and ends just with you or the call. It don't begin and end just with you. If you don't answer the call, somebody else will. And that would just be a loss for you, that you didn't fulfill. You didn't go all the way to Canaan. You went to Haran. I told God I don't want to do that. I want to go as far as He'll lead me. I want to finish. And I tell him that all the time. Lord, help me. Enable me to finish what we started together. For 9 years, we have been in the process of birthing the ministry. Now, suddenly, God was giving us an opportunity to reach more people, which we wanted to do with all of our heart. However, in order to do it, we would need to leave our comfortable position and take on new responsibility. Leaving your comfortable position. A lot of times, people don't move when God is calling them to move, because the first thing they think about is all the other responsibility that they're going to take on. And if you're in a state of comfortability, you're thinking about, okay, this television, I'm pretty sure for her was going to be new bills. It was going to be a new line item onto the bill budget sheet. It was going to require her to come out of just being comfortable. And now you're going to have more responsibility, right? But we have to depend and trust God, that if He's calling us to take on more responsibility, then He's going to provide for it. He wouldn't be God if He didn't, right? And so I know I was definitely challenged with that. God is calling me to more responsibility, more different avenues in ministry at a point when I was comfortable. And now I have to understand that I got to come out of this comfort zone in order for me to really seize the opportunities that God is providing for me. She says, when the Lord asks His people to do something, there is a temptation to wait for the convenient season. That's Acts 24 and 25. There is always a tendency to hold back until it won't cost anything or be so difficult. Yeah, how many of us, you sitting there right now on something God has called you to do, and you saying, Lord, when you send me the money, then I'll get it done. I know that hit you right where it needed to. I ain't taking on no debt now to get nothing done for the Lord. Or I ain't signing my name on nothing, to get, to do what the Lord is asking me to do. Because if He wanted me to do it, then He will provide and give me the necessary resources in order to do. I know I'm hitting you right where you need to be. Sometimes God will call you to do that out of your comfort zone to see your commitment. Are you committed enough to put your name on the line? He does it all the time. All the time. She says, I encourage you to be a person who is not afraid of responsibility. In meeting resistance, you will build your strength. If you only do what is easy, you will always remain weak. God expects you and me to be responsible and to take care of everything He gives us, to do something with it that will produce good fruit. If we do not use the gifts and talents that He has given us, then we are not being responsible over what He has entrusted into us. And then she says, be prepared. Matthew 25 and 13. Watch therefore, give strict attention and be cautious and active, for you know neither the day nor the hour when the Son of Man will come. She says, in this chapter we're waiting on the return of Jesus. And she says, she gives the example about 12, the first 12 verses show us about the 10 virgins, 5 who were foolish and 5 who were wise. The foolish did not want to do anything extra to be sure they were prepared to meet Him when He returned. They did the bare minimum they could get by with. They did not want to go the extra mile, so they took only the amount of oil they needed for their lamps. But the wise virgins, however, went beyond what was absolutely what they had to do. They took extra oil to be sure they were prepared for a long wait. When the bridegroom came, the foolish found their lamps going out, and they, of course, wanted the wise ones to give them some of their oil. This is usually the case. People who are lazy and procrastinate always want those who work hard and take responsibility to do for them what they should have been doing for themselves. Ouch. That's the truth. Yes. Use what you've been given. Matthew 25 and 26. You wicked and lazy idle servant. Matthew 25 records the parable Jesus told about the 3 servants who were given talents. And when God gives talents, he wants us to use those talents to produce. One was given so many talents and the other one was given 5 talents. And he invested them and gained 5 more. The man was given 2 talents, did the same. But the man that was given 1 talent buried it in the ground because he was full of fear. He was scared to step out and to do anything. He was afraid of responsibility. When the master returned, he commended the 2 servants who had taken what he had given them and done something with it. But to the man who buried his talent and had done nothing with it, he said, you wicked and lazy and idle servant. Then he ordered the 1 talent to be taken from him and given to the man with the 10 talents, and that the lazy idle servant will severely be punished. She said, I encourage you to respond to the ability God has placed in you by doing all you can with it, so that when the master returns, you can only give him what he has given you, but more besides. The Bible clearly shows us that it is God's will for us to bear good fruit. In John, the 15th chapter, and the 16th verse. Casting your care, not responsibility. In 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7, it says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all of your cares upon him, for he careth for you. Don't be afraid of responsibility. You may want to say that to yourself. Don't be afraid. Carla, don't be afraid of responsibility. Put your name there. Don't be afraid of responsibility. Learn to cast your cares, but not your responsibility. Some people learn not to worry about anything, becoming experts at casting their cares. They get so comfortable that they also cast their responsibilities. Ouch. Set your mind to do what is in front of you and not run from anything just because it looks challenging. As always, remember that if God gives you whatever you ask him for, there is a responsibility that goes along with the blessing. I want to just pause right there. She says, if God gives you whatever you ask him for, there is responsibility that goes along with the blessing. If God gives you what you ask him for, whatever you ask him for, there is responsibility that goes along with the blessing. To much given, much is required. She says, if you own a home or a car, God expects you to take care of it. Ooh, ouch, 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 ouch. Remember, it's our responsibility. You probably thinking all this time I'm talking about a business or a ministry or this is everything that God has given you, that has placed in your care, where you are responsible for it. She says, if you own a home or a car, God expects you to take care of it. Your car should not look like a trash bin. McDonald's bags and, Popeyes and Burger King bags. Your car is supposed to look like, almost like it did when you drove it off the lot. I won't take you back. And if your car don't look like that right now, that's probably a good task for you to do on tomorrow. Clean it out. Vacuum it out. Clean it outside. Take care of it. Change the oil. Do the maintenance. Listen, anything that God puts in my care, I certainly try to make sure that if he come and visit me at any moment, He will come and see what I have done with what he has given me. Because remember, when he finds you faithful over little, he'll make you ruler over much. And you don't know when he's coming to visit. And you got a whole section of your house that's just a junk house. You may want to clean that up. You may want to go and organize it. And I work every day when I have free time. I'm working every day organizing my space. Because I don't know when the master may come. I don't know when he may pay my house a visit. I want to make certain that the grass is cut and that the house is clean and that the closet is organized and that the drawer spaces are organized and that the place looks nice and that it's nicely decorated. It don't have to be all the famous and fabulous, but it can be clean. It can be decorated. Remember, it's placed in your care. And you have to be responsible for it. So the days of you just junking something up, them days should be over. This book right here, this chapter was confirmation on what I've always been believing for a very long time. When he find you faithful with a little, he'll make you rule over much. I remember when me and my husband first got married, we was living in an apartment, and I remember the apartment didn't come with no carpet. And I had a carpet company to come out and to actually install carpet in the living room area. Because the floors, they were hardwood, but they were varnished and they were badly, it didn't look nice, not to me. So I had a really nice light ice gray carpet installed in that apartment. And I remember when I had it done, I was thinking to myself, okay, I got a 2-year-old, so I'm not sure how I'm going to keep this carpet clean. And at the time, I couldn't afford, I was a single mom at that time, and I couldn't afford to buy a carpet cleaning machine. Or I couldn't even afford at that time for somebody to come out and clean the carpet. But what I decided to do was I looked and said, okay, what do I have here that I can keep this carpet clean? I had a mop bucket and a scrub brush. And I had a box fan. Let me tell you, child, I would get on my hands and knees and I would open my front door so I could get that cool breeze and put the box fan in front of the front door so I could let that air come right in. And I would open all the windows and I would get on my hands and knees with that big brush and that bucket, and I would scrub and scrub and scrub and scrub, and that box fan would blow and dry it up for me in about 3-4 hours. That's what I did. And listen, and at the time, I was actually believing God for my own home one day. And I just kept saying, Lord, I said, I'm tired of renting. I just want my own home. But it was just something in me, in the middle of me praying, asking him for that. I just started looking down and looking at where I currently live. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm asking God to give me more square footage, I better start taking care of the little square footage I got in this little apartment. And so I did the best that I could with that apartment. And I scrubbed. And I remember when we left it there and God blessed us and we wound up getting another house. We did get a house on another side of town. It wasn't the best house, but we made it the best, right? We went in, I'm laying tile down in the little foyer area. My husband out there cutting trees and, they got hit by lightning and clearing the brush all out the yard, and we out there painting the banisters and the railings and things, and we doing all that we could to try to bring this house up to the kind of standard in which we live. And when I got almost done, I said, Lord, I done ran out of money. I said, I'm doing all this and this ain't even my property. I said, this somebody, I'm trying to buy it from this person, but I'm putting all this into it to bring it up to our standard. And I said, Lord, I'm just going to keep believing you that you're going to, bless me with a home. And then eventually, 5 or 6 months later, the Lord blessed us and we bought our home, our very first home on the south side of Chicago. And I went into that home and I didn't stay complacent. Every time I had extra monies, I was getting some kind of work. Concrete, sidewalks, fencing, gates, tuck pointing, siding on a house, new windows, doors. I was doing all I can. Because I wanted when the Father see that I'm responsible. I wanted him to know he can trust me with just a little bit more. And even in the space where I'm at now, even in this dynamic, I still carry that same ethic with me, even in this space. She says, if you own a home or a car, she says, God expects you to take care of it. Laziness may attack your mind and your feelings, but you have the mind of Christ. You can certainly, she says, you certainly can recognize the devil's deception and press past your feelings and do what you know is right. Asking for something is easy. Being responsible for it is the part that develops character. Asking for something, kids ask stuff all the time. Oh, mama, can you give me that game system and give me some, cartridges and things? And I know, but being responsible for it and taking care of something is something totally different. A lot of us ask God for a lot of things, but you got to remember, He's gonna see how faithful you are with what you already have. And somebody got to beg you to clean out your car and scream at you to clean out your space and yell at you to keep yourself organized and throw out trash and clean out spots and spaces. Guess what? You're going to stay right in that space. Because remember, God ain't going to put more on you than you can bear. If you can't bear to take care of that small 300 or 500 square feet, then why would He give you 1,200 square feet? I'm just telling you this from my experience. Think about it. Are you responsible where you at right now? Have you taken care of what He's already given you? That is like answering your own question. And then think about what you've been praying and asking Him for. And see if it's congruent, if it's equal. That's how you check your answer, to see if what you praying for makes sense. By looking at what you already have in your care. So it says, she said, I remember the time when she was talking to Dave about trying to buy a lake house. And she was telling him that she really wanted to buy this house and they could certainly afford it. And she said Dave kind of was against it. And he told her, no, it's a lot of upkeep and taking care of it. And he just didn't think that they were ready for it. And he reminded her of how busy that they were already and that they did not have the time to be responsible for another home, she says. He told me about the lawn care, the upkeep, the payments. He said we would be better off to rent a place when we needed one, to get away and not take on responsibility of owning one. She said, I was looking at the emotional side of the issue. However, he was looking at the practical side. Anytime we make a decision, we should look at both sides, the emotional and the practical, she says. Not just what would be enjoyable, but the responsibility that it will require. She said, a lake home is perfectly fine for those who have the time to put into it, but we really didn't. Deep down, I knew that, but on and off for a year, I tried to talk Dave into buying one. She says, I'm glad he stayed firm. That he hadn't, I am sure we have had bought the place, kept it for a while, complained a lot about having to take care of it, and probably ended up selling it because it was too much work. As it turned out, friends of ours bought a lake house and let us use it as our schedule and theirs permitted. Several years later, we were in a position to own a place of our own, and it was the right time to move forward. But when I first wanted the lake house, it would have been the wrong time in our lives to buy one. Wanting something, she says, is not enough. We must also be fully prepared to take responsibility for it. If you use wisdom, you will find God meeting your needs. Anyone operating in the mind of Christ will walk in wisdom, not emotions. Be responsible. Listen, I certainly am so happy that I was able to give you that read on tonight and talk about being responsible. And just the idea of, I don't want to take responsibility. I want somebody else to do it for me. On next week, I'll be coming back on next Tuesday on chapter 18. Please make everything easy. I can't take it if things are too hard. That's another wilderness mentality. Make it easy, Lord. I can't take it if it's too hard. Nobody said that it was going to be a bed of roses with whatever it is that God is calling you to do. But listen, He has equipped us. He enabled us. He is there for us. He's walked before us, with us, alongside us to make sure that we have His support. Listen, I'm so excited. I'm praying that what we read on tonight will further help you to become responsible. Take inventory of the things that you are praying for and asking God for. And then look around you and see opportunities in your life where you can be even more responsible with what God has blessed you with and the things that He has placed in your hand. Can you be more responsible with your budget? Yep, talking to you. Can you be more responsible with your finances? Can you be more responsible with how you manage and taking care of your car, your home, your apartment? Can you be more responsible with that job that you complained about to your girlfriends on Friday night? And you're so glad you off for the weekend. Can you be more responsible in other areas of your life that will bring glory to the Father? Remember, every good and perfect gift, it comes from above. Listen, I'm so excited that you guys tuned in on tonight. I'm even more blessed and humbled that I know that something that I may have said will make a difference in your life. But what you can do to help me is to partner with me and click that share button. Share it with your friends and your family and your coworkers and your neighbors and your friends in their network. Because listen, somebody may need to hear that word about taking responsibility for their own life and not passing the buck or pushing it off on somebody else or blaming somebody else. It's all their fault. But taking responsibility over their life, over their affairs, and over what God is calling them to do. Life isn't a bed of roses, but I can assure you that God is with us. He's never left us, and He won't forsake us. And listen, you're not doing life alone. I'm here for you. You can reach out to me at any time by going to my website at www.ckbowministries.org. You can leave a message there. Listen, I read all of my messages and I contact you via an email personally myself. I'm certainly praying for you. If you need prayer, reach out on our website. We will certainly have our prayer partners praying for you and believe in God that whatever He's calling you to do, you have everything, every tool and everything that you need to accomplish what He is calling you to do. And I'm certainly praying for you. And I'm praying with you. And we're praying together. Listen, you can pray for my ministry, and I'm certainly going to be praying for you all week long. Remember, I'm back here every Tuesday on the 7th, 7 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm here for about 10 minutes doing a live devotional, and I come back like I am tonight, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, doing the book read. Next week, chapter 18. I'm super excited about it. Tell your friends and family and coworkers and neighbors that listen, set your reminders, and I certainly look forward to seeing you on next Tuesday. Remember, there's 3 pillars to this ministry that we stand by. We listen, we learn, and we love. See you on next Tuesday.